everybody, welcome back to Oh Sugar. I'm Elise Gamble, and today we're going to be talking about insulin. Thanks for grabbing your juice boxes and joining me today. We're going to be talking about insulin. As you all know, there's tons of different brands and types of insulin. There's pens, there's vials, there's long-acting, short-acting, but today we're only going to be talking about the pens and the vials, and we're not going to be discussing the pump. And we're just going to discuss how I use them and some tips and tricks along the way for that. So there are different categories of insulin. There is rapid, there's short-acting, there's intermediate, long-acting, and combination, I believe. And they all differ on how quickly they hit your bloodstream, how quickly they peak, and the duration of how long that they'll be in your body, providing you that insulin. So when I was first diagnosed, I was using Humalog and NPH. And a lot of you guys might know Humalog and Novolog as like the short-acting, or I'm sorry, the rapid-acting. And then the intermediate would be NPH. And then the long-acting would be something like Lantus. Right now I am on Humalog and Lantus, and I am using the insulin pens, which I find to be much easier to both carry around with me if I'm going to a restaurant or to just be able to use. I do know that the syringes are a little bit less expensive, and sometimes insurances only cover the syringes and the vials, and that's okay. You can use these, and you can even mix two different types. So if you're taking your morning insulin and you want to take both your Humalog and your NPH for your whole day, then you can do that. I did find that I was pricking myself like 5 times a day to check my sugars, and then poking myself with this 4 times a day, which does get to be exhausting, and it does hurt, and it makes your fingers, you know, kind of sore. So my suggestion would be to try to find different places in your body also to insert yourself with some insulin. So let's see. Here is what the insulin pen, or I'm sorry, the syringe looks like, and it has little half markers and full markers on there. And you would just take, this is, I believe it's Novolin, and you would just take it, put it in here, and use. But like with the mixing, you could add 10 units of this, and then if you had to take 5 units of Humalog, you could just add 5, which is kind of nice to be able to just have 1 prick versus 2, but I think carrying these around is a little bit more difficult, like if you're going to a restaurant or something. And then with the pens, this is what they look like. They literally look just like a little pen you'd keep in your purse, and they just don't have anything on the front of them. This is what one looks like with a needle on top of it. And what you'll get are just these little needles from your pharmacy. You'll need a prescription for these. These are the 4 and 5 millimeters, and they say that this length and width is generally what most people need. It doesn't really matter your size or body fat. They just think that these two are the best as far as like getting everything injected into you and limiting the bruising. I find that with the 4 millimeter, this green one, especially if I'm doing it in my stomach, tends to pop out more. So I try to use this 5 millimeter one if I'm using in that area. I'm not sure why that happens, but what you would do is you would take an alcohol pad, you would go ahead and you would wipe the top of this, you would wipe your area. As you can see, I have a little bit of bruising from where I've been inserting. And Then you would uncap this, screw on your pen. You would click however many units that you need. There's no half units on the pens, at least the ones that I'm using. And then you click it, and you want to make sure that there is at least a little bit of insulin at the top. At least this is what I've been doing, to make sure there's no air bubbles so that you're getting the full amount. And then you would just insert, push in, and then I hold for a few seconds to make sure it's all in there, and then again pull out. And then what you would do is you would put your insulin needle back in, screw it in, and then you would dispose of it. You want to make sure that you're disposing of your needles in some sort of a container that cannot be punctured, or broken if it's fallen, so like no glass. Milk containers work well. I got this on Amazon, which has been just great. And then you just tape it shut and you put it in your trash can. What I learned in my diabetes class though is if you have something other than city trash, you'll need to call the company to see if they have a special pickup. So that's something to keep in mind, but I do recommend these on Amazon. They're just handy, keep in your little diabetes area of your room. And some places that you're going to want to inject yourself. These areas right here are pretty fatty and pretty good. Your stomach, down toward your stomach is good. And then on the outer part of your thighs, if you have any fat on your back, and then the top of your buttocks, those are all areas. And you want to be able to switch it around because you could get scar tissue and then it wouldn't go through. So make sure that you're changing up where you're inserting your insulin. It's sometimes hard to remember because you're doing it so many times a day, but just something to think about. And then I always keep my insulin, like I'll keep one with me in my purse, and a few extra little like needle caps and, you know, my to-go kit. But then if I have like a box of them that I picked up from the pharmacy, I always just keep them on the inside of my refrigerator and the door. That way they stay fresher for longer than a month. So something to keep in mind for that as well. And then one really cool hack that I've been using is, so my insulin runs out. I'm completely done with Lantus. It won't click anymore. What you can do is you can put the syringe in here, and I have found that you can get almost like 5 more units of your insulin by using a syringe to pull the extra out. So that's my fun trick for the day. I hope that you guys can use some of these for yourselves and have a wonderful evening. Cheers.